Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mahesh, you can see this.
Just a minute. So, just a minute. Yeah, so we can start. So, hi guys, welcome to the 16 Toronto MuleSoft meetup, which is EJB Connector for MuleSoft. We welcome you all on behalf of the Toronto meetup group. About the organizers, so my name is Mahesh, and I work as a MuleSoft developer at McKinsey Investments. I have around 10 years of IT experience and around seven years of experience in integration space, and I have like 4+ years of experience in MuleSoft. That's pretty much about me. I'll hand over this mic to Kishore.
Thank you, Mahesh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kishore. I'm a solutions architect at MuleSoft, and I have 15 years of experience in integrations and API development. Currently, I'm part of the MuleSoft Fins professional services group, helping the customers to maximize the benefit that they would be getting out of the Anypoint platform. Thank you. Anurag?
Yeah, thanks, Kishore, Mahesh, and welcome everyone to the 16th meetup for the Toronto group. Um, I am currently working with Epicero as an associate solution architect. I have around 9 years of experience, uh, around 7 years of that in the integration domain. I started my journey with TIPCO, and I'm associated with MuleSoft since last 5 years now. Uh, I worked with the multiple clients. Like previously, I worked with the banking, manufacturing industry, and the airlines as well. So yeah, that's it, and welcome everyone. Over to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, thanks, Kishore and Anurag. Yeah, so uh, Wahid, we would like you to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Welcome
Yeah,
everybody, and um, it's good. Is evening here in Toronto, so good evening for everybody from Toronto. But morning, good night, and good afternoon, based on where you're located. My name is Wahid, and I am running, managing the company, and as well as managing the technology team in Blackton Labs. But my another identity is I'm an architect, and I'm also a hands-on developer. um, Wherever I get chance, I always try to start do development and participate in the architectural discussion. I have around 17 years of experience in IT industries and around 15 years of integration industries experience. And last 9+ years, I have been working dedicatedly with MuleSoft technologies. I'm in Toronto, in Ajax. Fun fact about me. Um, I like music. I play music. I play flute. I have different types of music instrument I try, and I also like hiking, going and meeting with different peoples, seeing the world. That's kind of my passion. Yeah, thank you, and welcome everybody again. Mahesh, over to you.
yeah. Thanks, Wahid. That was a wonderful introduction. Good to know about your passions. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So we have some important announcements. Yeah, we have the safe harbor statement, which says that both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity. Only we are not represented our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose. Organizer presenter do not hold any responsibility. That same solution will work for your business requirement also. This presentation is not maintained for any promotional activities. That being said, so we have a Q&A tab, if you notice, on the chat section, where you can exclusively ask your questions. Uh, for other chats, you can just use the general tab. it'll be easy for us to sort the questions on the Q&A tab. So yeah, so we also have a quiz. So basically there will be three questions asked in middle of the presentation, so you have to be really attentive to the presentation, and we'll pick like first three persons, whoever answers correctly, and then we'll run the names in the wheel of names and pick one lucky winner out of those three. We'll follow the same routine for three questions asked, and the winners will be awarded with a training voucher, which we will be sending you the link after the presentation. And once, if you have answered correctly, if you win the voucher, so we would, like, you cannot participate in the next question, like you cannot answer the next question if you win the voucher. Yeah, so that is it. So over to you, Wahid.
All right. Thank
Stop
you.
sharing my screen.
Okay, let me share my screen then. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? I will go skip this slide and just go right to the agenda of the discussion here. Can you see my screen? And I'm
Yes.
showing agenda page.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great. My sound is okay, audible to everybody. If not, please raise.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so welcome again, and it's evening time. I know you all are. We are all are doing our day-to-day work. I would. It's a meetup, first of all. If it was not COVID, we would probably meet in person. We would talk to each other. We would share each other's experience, but we don't get that opportunity. But still, I think when we have been communicating remotely, we can still keep it casual, like a meetup, like other in-person meetup. So if you guys have any question, please feel free to ask. We will have a Q&A, question and answer session at the end of the presentation. But I will go very casual, relaxed way, and I will go surface level. But if you are interested on anything particular, definitely I will try answering this question in detail. If not, even in this session, in the later, maybe any time, you can reach out, and I would like to, participate to help the community. That's the intention, and everybody, I believe, Mahesh, and everybody here in the panel and MuleSoft side, and you guys all are collaborating with each other and helping each other to learn and grow your career, right? So I will try to do the same, so you can reach out to me anytime. Without saying further, I will go directly to the agenda. So these are the kind of topic we will cover today. First of all, objective of this session, what we're going to talk about, what we're going to discuss mainly, and our topic, that it's EJB connector, or connecting to EJB service using MuleSoft. Why do we care? And I will go in the third section. I will go and show a use case where we connected with EJB service and we solved a business problem. Third, I will go a little bit deep and have some technical discussion around EJB. Many of us may not know EJB, although I'll not go very detailed. And I'm not an expert in EJB, honestly speaking. I have used EJB long time ago, RMI EJB that time. So I'm not the best person to answer all of your questions, but I will try my best, whatever I know, based on my knowledge, depth of my knowledge. And I will go and discuss about EJB connector. What are the features that you can use today, and you can integrate when you have some projects and you have this scenario, how you can use this connector. What that EJB connector can do and cannot do. That will also, I will touch a few points, and I'll go do a quick demo just to show it in the Anypoint Studio, how we configure and how I'll quickly run Very simple project, and we'll see. We're getting back response from EJB service. And at the end, again, the question and answer session. Objective. So the main objective of this session is maybe introducing to the EJB connector what it can do, and basically how to use it. That's high level. Why do we care, right? EJB connector. Why do we are talking about EJB connector today in 2022? EJB is like a very old technology. It's not very old, but it's still considered as a old technology that has been used maybe 10, 15 years ago widely. It was popular at that time, but today not many people, invest on EJB, right? EJB services. Right? So, but why do we care then about EJB connector? First thing is, a lot of organizations, they build a lot of big applications in the past, in like 15, 20 years ago. They made huge investment. They create like, big enterprise applications using EJB. Those systems, they cannot just take it out. They're gonna just take it out from their architectural landscape. They need to do a lot of investigation, and a lot of things needs to. There are a lot of dependencies are there before removing those systems and services. And on top of that, we know we work in the integration industry, and we know that when we create something, especially when think about reusability, we create something and we encourage people to reuse these services, right? So that means we other department and other projects, they start consume the services, and then it grows and creates like create kind of a big network of applications. All right. So see the picture in the right side. The picture shows that it's a lot of ad hoc basis development. We used to do integration. We used to do it back 10, 15 years ago, and that time we didn't have like API-led connectivity model and other cool stuff, right? So we used to do ad hoc integration, and we end up like having a lot of dependencies, and those dependencies still exist. Industries or different organizations, they are trying to solve this problem by leveraging or by running some projects called legacy modernization. So they have those legacy systems and legacy technologies, and they wanted to modernize it. And MuleSoft, tools like MuleSoft, that can help really well. But the problem is MuleSoft does not have EJB connector yet. So this is a brand new connector that is recently developed and certified. And we're going to talk about why it is important. It is actually opening up a door for many organizations like big telecommunication across different verticals. Any organizations, they build something big, enterprise level applications. Those are business wants to connect with those systems and leverage those logic and data, and then do something interesting, right? Introduce some new products or ideas, right? So, but they cannot do it today. They can do it, but it takes a long time, and they get scared, right? We also talk about reusability in the Center for Enablement, right? So we can create some. It makes sense to have some connector. So that's why EJB connector is still important, because we're heavily dependent, and many organizations still dependent on it. And it's a kind of a roadblocker for them, because they don't have any connector. They have to write a lot of custom logic. Again, these are not reusable. So that's the whole point. Again, EJB connector is not a magic that it is solving all the problems. It's just a one step towards solving some problem, right? So next, I would go with the use case. Like, for example, this is one of the use case that I'll be talking about. But there are a lot of other use case that we have encountered in the past. Particularly about this use case, we have an HVAC company that they have basically what they do. They rent water heater, furnace, and home equipment, home security equipment, AC, all this stuff to homeowners, directly to consumers, right? And when they do, kind of they have seen that this happening in the middle of the winter. somebody water heater broke down, and that customer kept calling to customer service. Customer service in their in that company get really busy, and also there is an SLA, right? They cannot just right away solve the problem. They cannot send the technicians to fix that problem right away. It may take at least few hours, right? Maybe 6 hours to even 8 hours, depending on how's the availability of the technicians. So they started thinking, how about we do something? How about we put some sensors in those home equipment, and that those sensors give us continuous data, and we can read those data and try to understand the health of these devices, equipments. If we do that, then we can apply some machine learning. And in that case, if we have that some sort of pattern, we can come up, and then we can predict that whether there's some abnormality in those devices. If we have that, we can notify customers. If we notify customers to tell them, hey, something is wrong, some wrong pattern we have been observing in your equipments, you might be seeing some problems. So you may need to either hire some technicians, or you can tell us, we can hire some technicians to you. Before it breaks down, we can monitor and see, or we can replace, right? So that gives a different types of advantage in the market, because compared to the other competitors, they can sell faster, because the customer will be, if the customer sees that yes, they have a problem, they can immediately put the order to that company, so they have their sales, they have the opportunity to have more revenue. At the same time, they are getting the peace of mind, they are making customer happy, satisfied, right? So this is kind of an idea they came up with, and now the question is, how do we integrate, right? How do they connect or flow this data to across different systems, identify customers, pull more information? So that requires an integration project. So now they were evaluating what they can do. So they need to run an integration project. So now they thought that, okay, we have one system CRM, because definitely they need to understand the customer, and they need to integrate with the CRM. And the problem with the CRM, that they have the legacy CRM that is only that can be communicated using EJB. Now the problem is there's no expertise on EJB, and they because it's old technology. At the same time, they have Mule, and they want to leverage Mule, but there's no connector, right? So then the question was, then that connector was being used. So that kind of helped driving the integration, and at the end, they completed the project. They integrated with their CRM, they integrated with their SAP, and they have the very, very nice dashboard. That dashboard says all these metrics. I have a diagram actually, so maybe I can refer this diagram to understand better. So this is kind of the high-level solution. So if you are at home, that you have your home equipment, say your furnace, that furnace has a little sensors continuously sending data. Those are continuous data. So there is a telematic service provider that they partner with that HVAC company, and then what they're doing is they are collecting all this data and then identify some event, right? Based on some pattern, they're saying, okay, these are the event we can consider, and then they're pushing this event continuous to that HVAC company through MuleSoft. It was API-led connectivity model was used, API was exposed for them, and they've continuously pushed the data, and then through EJB Connector, they could communicate with the CRM system, and then they could pull all this data and then connect to database, and database data was pulled by SAP BI, and the SAP BI was putting into that analytics, and the operation team could go and look at it, and solve this types of problem. I mean, at least understood what is happening across different customers' home. So at the end of the project, this was the result. They become proactive versus reactive, right? Before, what was happening is customer wanted to have, customer had the issue, AC broke down, they call, and then 8 hours later, maybe they got the service. But now they're proactive. They're even breaking down the calling. So this is something competitive advantage they're getting. Increased revenue, definitely, because once you are telling the symptom early, you will go to that doctor, that person who knows better about your problems, right? So there is a high chance that you can sell or rent, or they can rent their equipments to that customer again. So that happened, that increased the revenue and better customer experience, as I mentioned. Now, just one quick quiz, as Mahesh already mentioned, that we'll be running three quizzes. So we have 3 questions. So first question is, what type of business use cases are applicable for the EJB connector? First answer is any business use case that requires connecting EJB services, financial, retail, and utilities. Mahesh, do we wait for 1 minute or something for?
Yeah, I think we have answers.
Yeah, we have answers already. So what we'll do is we'll be picking up 3 names, whoever answered it first, and then we'll run the wheel of names at the end of the session.
Okay. The next slide, I have the answer. That's why.
Okay. Yeah.
If I go to the next slide, it will show the answer.
Yeah. So they're good to have the answer now because most of them have answered, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So the answer would be it is applicable for any business use case. It's not actually tied with. It's a technology, so it's not really a business solution. So this EJB connector can be used across any business use case where system that can be connected through EJB. Okay. So the next topic.
Sorry, Wade. Yeah, so Mahesh, it would be Sujata and then Ashnafi and Shariful, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we have picked three answers, and then at the end we'll run the wheel of names to pick one lucky winner for this.
For each question, we will be picking first 3 names, whoever answers correctly, and then we would be using wheel of names to decide who is the final winner.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Wade. Yeah, please proceed.
It's okay. It's okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
And it seems like everyone is very keen to the knowledge that you are sharing, Wahid. Everyone has given the answers correctly. Like there's no
Wonderful.
wrong answers. The first
That's
time
wonderful.
that you were
That's great. Everybody's listening. That means nobody slept, I assume. So that's great. So we'll try. And next slide. Few slides could be boring. Few slides could be interesting. And whenever you find something interesting, please ask questions. I can try. Even you can interrupt me in the middle. I can have some conversation and I can deep dive few of the topic.
Sure.
All right. So what is EJB? That's a common question. Let's introduce EJB a little bit. Whoever doesn't know or have little knowledge about EJB, we can just review what we know a little bit. EJB, it stands for Enterprise Java Beans, but before Enterprise Java Beans, what is Java Beans? Java Beans is actually it's a concept in Java, and basically it encapsulates multiple objects. And it has some certain convention it needs to follow, and it is mainly for client-side development. On the flip side, EJB, Enterprise Java Beans, it is mainly for server-side development, and it is meant for enterprise application, is large-scale application, and it is suitable for distributed computing application. You guys know that initially, back in 15-20 years ago, or even earlier, distributed computing was something everybody was desiring, right? That time we didn't have microservice architecture. What we had, the distributed computing, client server type of architecture that people. Before that, we had only application that will be running in single machine, right? And then later came to client server technology, distributed computing applications, right? That time EJB was very popular, and EJB came. Before that, we had RMI, right? RMI, RPC, those were there too for client server type of communication. But EJB came as becomes very popular, and it came as a it's kind of what do I say? It came as a very interesting idea. Like we have now microservice and API, right? Those types of idea now everybody desire. So that time EJB gave the similar type of vibe to everybody. That distributed computing, this is largely scalable. This is the solution. But behind the scene, it is using for the communication with client and server. It uses RMI. RMI is remote method invocation. I will give a little bit of idea what is RMI, because it is the communication is happening using the protocol anyway. There are two different types of interfaces in EJB, local and remote. I will talk a little bit about that as well in the next slide. RMI, as I said, it is mainly the communication is happening. Our communication in EJB is mainly using RMI, and how RMI works. So consider that you have a client and a server. In the server side, you have some client classes, some Java applications, Java classes you have. And in the server side, you have some remote object. So now the idea is, how can we invoke, the RMI stands for, again, remote method invocation. So the concept is, how can I invoke one method in a remote class? For example, this remote object here. Right. So client wants to use or invoke a method sitting or running here in this object. So what RMI says, when we build an application using RMI, we need to create some skeleton. Right, that object has some functionalities, like maybe you have some business object or something. Say in our case, get customers. Get customer method maybe implemented in the remote object, and if you invoke it, it responds a string called, say, when Gretzky. He's Wayne Gretzky. If you guys know, he's one of the most popular hockey player, and he's Canadian. So. But he's not the customer here. In our case, it's just an imaginary name. But this is for the sake of example. If you have a customer, get customer, and this is a customer ID, and that method resolve that, and customer 007 is when Gretzky. So in that case, that method is already implemented. You just want to trigger it from the client side. So what client needs to do, they build some skeleton class, these are interfaces, and ship it to the client and tell that, okay, these are the interface, this defines the classes here, not necessarily the implementation. So client takes it, and then client put it in their implementation, and client invokes that method in that interface. What behind this is happening is RMI does. RMI creates a stub. Stub means it's like a simulate. You create a object like this, remote object, but your implementation is all here. But you have the same in signature, method signature. So when you are calling get customer 007, your client class is actually invoking here. Client object is invoking the stub. What happened is stub takes that and simulate the behavior and make a socket connection to the skeleton class that is running at the server side. That skeleton class that hand over this request to the remote object, and then it send the response back. Then a skeleton class take that response and send back to the stub object, and then stub object sends it back to the client class. So to client, it looks very transparent. It thinks that it is calling a class that an object that is residing in the client application. There are a few things happens here. For example, when stub sends that, it kind of packages the arguments, because we're sending, we're not only invoking the method, we could send some input parameters. It could be primitive type of parameters. It could be some complex object, right? And then those object needs to be, properly sent to the other party. So it's called packaging process. Its another name is marshalling. Serialization is the same thing. So it's package the argument and marshal it and put it in the output stream and make a socket connection and put it in the output stream, and that skeleton class gets it and do exactly the reverse process. Extract from the stream, unmarshal it, and then send it back to the remote object. Invoke the remote object, and then it resolved. And the same thing happens when the skeleton object gets the response. It does the exact same thing. It package again, marshal, send back to the stub object, and then stub respond, unmarshal it, and then send it back. Construct the result from the stream and then send it back to the client object. So next slide, I will say how EJB uses RMI. So if you see that RMI is here, and EJB, the concept of EJB is enterprise Java beans, right? So client is here, service here. What EJB says, okay, we need to have a EJB container, and this is the container, and we will have some enterprise Java beans. Those beans mainly implements business logics. So business logic, it's like our process API, you can say in one word. Before that, it was not multi-tier architecture, it was mainly monolithic in nature. But still the idea was to decouple this logic, put a business logic in the enterprise Java bean, and hand over rest of the things to the infrastructure. For example, you may have security, you have SLA, you have your authentication, right? All this stuff server may have already. J2E server, you have Tomcat server, you have WebLogic, WebSphere. They have all these features already. Those could be leveraged, right? Here, the server feature could be leveraged, but we can take out this business logic because business logic is really dependent on and your own requirement. So you can build those enterprise Java beans using those, and that could communicate with third party like database and others, but it can encapsulate your business logic. Rest of the things communication could be happening using RMI, right? So basically the same thing. We do not. Didn't show the stub here. Stub classes here, but behind the scene it happens. So what happened is when the EJB EJB is defined, the skeleton is already still created, and those are called skeleton is created, and those based on some interfaces, and those interfaces are shipped to the customer side. I mean the client side. And client side gets that interface and then do the same thing. And again, the stub is generated automatically. So usually client doesn't need to generate it. So basically, it is kind of leveraging RMI, but it is making the client server communication through RMI, but at the same time invoking some business logic, not some just remote class. And this time, the remote object or EJB object is like just orchestrating, routing your request to the corresponding business object, EJB. There's another reason for doing it. It is kind of thought that way. Instead of exposing the business entity outside of the world, rather we should put some bodyguard here who can initially do some checking, and then to client, it will be client will know how to communicate with the EJB directly. What it will do, it will go via EJB object or remote object. In EJB, it's called EJB object. So it acts like a bodyguard. So same thing happens. Client send the request goes to here, and then the EJB object find out where exactly the Java beans residing, because client may have if you have say multiple clients, in that case you may have instance of multiple beans, right? So which one owns by which client, that also needs to be resolved. So this EJB object does that. So just to simplify, I have another diagram which kind of abstract all this RMI part and put it like this. So basically client will need to have this business interface, which and business interface will be defined in the server side too. That's the same. And then business object, and then the server functionality, and then it will be invoked. The EJB will be invoked. Now EJB2, there are multiple versions of EJB. EJB1, and then EJB2 and EJB3. EJB1 that didn't last that long, and not many people used it because it's just an initial idea. EJB2 became very popular. So I will show the diagram how EJB2 works and what are the components that we need to know. And EJB3, I will not go detail, but it is very similar. The foundation or the main idea is similar to what I'll be telling now. So I removed that abstraction anyway, so now it's only EJB. And again, EJB container is there, and EJB, sorry, J2E server. It will be running in the. It's part of J2, every J2E server. It will be considered as a subset of J2EE server. So you in any J2EE server, you can actually have EJB container and you can deploy your application. So in EJB2, I also put an example for multiple clients here. For EJB2, there is another concept called home interface introduced. So if we have the purpose of the home interface is having a manager in the middle, because if you have multiple clients and you are going to create some resources behind the scene, somebody needs to be able to manage it, because when client one is going to invoke one method or one EJB method here, right? They need to first create an instance of EJB object, the bodyguard, right? But if client two also comes and it goes to the same bodyguard, in that case, it's instead of creating same bodyguard, it kind of replicates and create another instance of the same bodyguard. So that means we have multiple instances, and in that case, somebody needs to be managing this, like who will be traffic will be distributed, or how request will be going to EJB, which instance for what. So some manager needs to be there. That's why the home interface. So that means client will only know about home interface, home object, and as there is a home object, so that means there should be another home stuff, because home object is also home interface is also remote. It is not in the client side. So that means that interface needs to be there. So when client make a request, at first it goes to home. It make the request to the to those object for home interface, and there is a method called create method. So that home for home interface, it automatically, that again same thing, automatically that stub is created, and that stub is like a class, but that has no implementation. The implementation is here, but it makes the remote communication, but it has that create method. So client make that create method call, then the stub forward the request to home interface, and home interface goes to, say, EJB object and instance, create another one instance, and then it goes and find the enterprise Java beans EJB, and then it finds a proper. Oh, sorry. Once it finds it and it sends the reference back, and then EJB the client can make that method call from the business object that he's looking for. So it makes the call, it goes here, and then EJB object, which is the bodyguard, forward the request to the EJB main EJB, the business entity. So, and then this is resolved and sent back to the client. So same way the client too also communicates. Yeah. So this is very high level. Again, this is not very detailed, and I kind of skip a lot of things for the given the time is limited. So there are three forms of EJB. There are three types of beans, enterprise Java beans. So first one is session beans, second one is the entity beans, and the third one is the message-driven beans. Session bean is mainly, it is responsible for client-server types of communication. So you may have some interface there because you have client side. So that interface is making sure that you're complying. It's like our REST agreement between client and API client and API service, right? So session bean is kind of similar. It has the interface. It is like sitting in the beginning, and also it is exposed to the client. There are two kinds: stateful and stateless. Stateful, as you know, it's kind of similar concepts. If there is any session, for example, say the server can persist some session, like you have a login session here, keeping some information. So the next time client comes back and get the information from the session, and it doesn't need to do anything extra. So taking advantage of the session has some drawback too, but those are called stateful because you're keeping some state in the server side, and you're remembering, persisting it for some time until the session is closed. There are some disadvantages. It's not scalable. I mean, it is scalable, but it's not as good as stateless. Stateless on the other side, you don't have any state. So every transaction has its own state kind of thing. So it doesn't persist anything in the server side. Entity bin is the second type. It is mainly the persistent layer. For example, you need to go to database and pull some data. So those entity bins are mainly for those, represent the model for the backend persistent layer. And modern days, still some people I was Googling before joining in the session, I was doing a little bit Google, is really is still people use EJB. Just I was searching in Google, and I found many people say the same thing. JPA, right? Java persistent for I can remember application or something. JPA is still being very popular, right? And this came from actually entity bin, and it is part of EJB 3 still. So people like if you are from Java, you're familiar with Java back, you're familiar in J2E or Java. Even Spring Boot and other, you might be using JPA already. So this is part of actually EJB 3, just to let you know. The third one is message-driven beans. Message-driven beans is that is also popular. We have been using, but there's no interface. This is mainly, you need a persistent. You need a message broker. Actually, use JMS. If you might be using a lot of us. We have been using JMS for many integrations, right? We need a message broker like message queue. It could be Apache Kafka. It could be ActiveMQ, right? So this is kind of the same. So there is a bean that can communicate, that can understand the JMS protocol, and they can also publish in JMS using JMS, right? And also it's asynchronous in nature. So in our case, EJB connector is mainly applicable for session bin. It is tested for session bin because it's it has the interface, and it's mainly for client-server communication, synchronous communication, not asynchronous. EJB 2 versus EJB 3. EJB 3 is the latest one, by the way. There's nothing after EJB 3. So what is the difference between EJB 2 and 3? Remote home interface versus remote interface. This is one of the things. EJB 2 had the concept home interface, but later they actually simplified it more and removed that home interface. They just keep the remote interface later. EJB 3 performs better because it uses POJO in addition to some metadata annotation. They introduce some annotation that kind of does a lot of things behind the scenes, so it is easy to work with, and it also performance is also it's also better. Annotations are introduced. Bean to DAO conversion is possible in EJB 3. It was not possible in EJB 2. Basically, you have bean and DAO conversion or DAO to bean conversion. Those could be done in EJB 3 easily, but in EJB 2 it is not. EJB 3 is lightweight. There is another one. EJB, a lot of components is removed because of home interfaces are removed too. So the package itself is also lightweight, and the communication is also lightweight because of the reduction of the dependencies. There are some examples EJB servers. EJB servers are WebLogic, for example, JBoss. JBoss also known by another name, Wildfly. Wildfly is a project. JBoss is I think it's a business name, a commercial name or something, but Wildfly is actually the name of the project. WebSphere, Glassfish, Tomcat. There are many other servers, but all J2E servers actually support EJB. So we are going towards now EJB client because connector is actually the EJB client, right? So what usually we need to connect to EJB service? First one is the driver. Driver means if you have WebLogic, JBoss, you may have some functionalities from specific to the server. So that means you need to have some driver. Those driver will be used to connect to the corresponding EJB services and business interface. And this is specific to the application. The application you're building, you'll need to come up with generate that interface so that you can share or ship to your client side, and client side can use that interface and then understand what are the methods are there, or what are the bean I can use, and what are the method I can invoke. Right, so those are the things. Lookup bean. There is a bean lookup process. It's called JNDI lookup process. You might be recently there's a lot of conversation about JNDI lookup because of the Log4j security vulnerabilities. Some bad guys are kind of exploiting that in the Log4j. They are actually having some JNDI lookup, and I mean they're connecting to they're bypassing some traffic to their own server, injecting some script there, and they're using JNDI there in Log4j. One of the remedy you have seen that removing that JNDI class, I mean the implementation for JNDI, that removing that solved the problem. But there have been other workaround. I'm pretty sure you guys have been working with different teams for that. But JNDI lookup basically it's like a lookup. It's like a search technique. But like if you have a tree structure and you can give a context, say that okay, given that tree, I have a subtree, and that I know the root, and I can tell you the root. So this is the root, and I want to look for a bean under that root. So that means you have a folder structure in our file system, and you can tell, okay, I want to go to demo folder, and I want to look for one file named presentation, right? So JNDI is kind of search for that. So if you provide as an input, if you provide the context, it can go and find the bean in the document structure, and that JNDI is the protocol for remote searching like that. It's called Java native directory interface. I'm not 100% sure, forgot, but it's probably Java native directory interface or network, not native. I think
It's
network.
naming. It's Java
naming. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Naming, yes, Java naming directory interface. Okay, so method name and method parameters. Those are the things that also client needs, because which method you'll be invoking and which parameter you need to pass, you also need to know that. So those are the client configuration that we usually deal with. So this is the second quiz. So based on this conversation, this is the quiz. What are the typical jars you would ask from the EJB server to configure your EJB client? Is exactly what we discussed in the previous slide, but I put the term jars. Jar means it includes the class and necessary dependencies. So the question is, what are the typical jars you would ask to the server side team? Because when you're configuring the client application, what are you going to ask? So the first thing, do you need the entity beans for the server side? Do you want to? So will you ask that, or will you ask session bean? You will ask drivers and interfaces, or you will ask EJB containers. That are the options for you. So you can put it in the comment your answer, and I guess we can mark your name if you are, and I'll go to the next slide to show the right answer. So I'll give probably a few seconds more, and then I will go to the next slide. This is one of the weird days. I don't see any of your face. I just see my screen. But it would be very nice if I could see everyone's face. I would understand what people would be looking for, or where I should put more focus, where should I highlight, where I should not, where should I can skip, where should I skip, and where should I put more focus. Unfortunately, we have to wait for long, and then maybe we can go for in-person sessions.
I think we can move to the next slide.
Okay, all right then, thank you.
A few people have answered.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the answer. As I mentioned, you need the server-side drivers. and interfaces, remote interfaces, right? That way you know what are the contract, and then you can communicate. As there is no other answer, you do not need EJB containers. EJB container it should be in the server side. You do not need session beans. You do not need entity beans. Session bean is the server side. Entity bean is also the server side. All you need is the interface and the drivers. You need a few other items. So for example, host port for sure. But mainly from this, you need the drivers and interfaces. Okay, so now let me talk about a little bit about the EJB connector, how it looks, and I mean, what are the features it has, and how can we use it.
So sorry, Wai. Could you
Yeah.
please give us one minute, please?
Sure.
Yeah, we just want to capture the names.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
So the answer is C. It would be Ashutosh. As we have already picked Sujata, Ashnafi, and Sharifal for the first quiz, we will not be picking the same names again. So we want to give everybody a chance. So we would be picking a different set of names. So Ashutosh, Yo, and Aline.
No, we have Nahid who has answered it first. So Nahid, Ashutosh, and Yo A. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is Nahid, Ashutosh, and Ashnafi we have already picked. So it is Yo A. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we are good. Thank you. Right,
Uh,
yeah.
excuse me. Are we not supposed to answer if our name is already picked?
You can answer, but we want to give everybody an option because let's say if you have answered all the three questions and if your name comes up in the wheel of names in all the three rounds, we cannot
Mm-hmm.
give three presents or three vouchers to the same person.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations who answered it right. Okay, let's. So should I go to the next slide then?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, cool. Thanks. EJB connector. So it is mainly for Mule 4. Mule 3 actually. Mule 3 had one EJB connector already published by MuleSoft, but it was not continued in Mule 4. And Mule 3 connector, I remember, it was not EJB connector, by the way. There was no like connector you could see in the panel. You could take the XML and you could create an RMI, and then you could link with them, and then you could use it. I used it personally a long time ago. I remember in Mule 3 we used EJB connector, but it was a little bit tricky to use that time. So this connector that I'm going to show is mainly for Mule 4. And it's published by MuleSoft partners, Plankton Labs, and it's published on. I think first one is December. I know I'm affiliated with them, that's why I know. But it is published. Second version 1.10 is published on February 17, 2022, which is just a few weeks ago. Yeah, this is the latest version. And if you go to Exchange, you will find it. I already downloaded from Exchange, and this is how it looks like. If you click on the EJB, it has two options, EJB 2 and EJB 3. So the connector, that means in summary, it has version is 1.10, the latest one. You can do EJB 2, you can use EJB 3. Features, what are the features? Again, I said for 4 and above, it's supported by 4 and above. Version 1.00 was built for JBoss, and version 1.00 was for JBoss, and 1.10 supports JBoss and WebLogic both. Although it doesn't support any other, it is not tested in any other server right now. It supports both EJB 2 and 3. It tested only with session bin, not with entity bin. Uses JNDI lookup again, and it supports SSL security, so you can do SSL handshake, like SSL authentication, using it. how it looks like in EJB 3 for WebLogic. So I just took the snapshot, I mean the screenshot, but I will, as I said, I will go to demo, and that time I will fill those information on a little application that connects to a server. We have set up a server in AWS just for demo purpose. So I turned that on before the presentation, and that is up and running. So in the demo, I will try to communicate from MuleSoft to that EJB server. So there are two main parts. One is the configuration, the global element properties. Those are like any other configuration. So we have first option, connection. It is for WebLogic, so we need to select the WebLogic here. And if you click on the drop down, it will tell you, it will give an option for JBoss as well. So this is how you select, and then in general tab, this is what you have. You have to give two different packages. Remember, I mentioned two things. One is driver, and another is interface. Right? The driver is, for example, WebLogic. You need server web driver for the container, the server, WebLogic server. So you can just go click on the configure button, and then you can take the jar. Usually that jar is common, so you can get it from WebLogic or like whoever, when you're there will be some support team for the WebLogic service server, so they should be able to provide you that driver as well. And also you can go to the server and find it inside the server too. It is also there. There's another thing, the interface that you need to talk to the application team, I mean development team in the EJB server, so they will be able to give you the interface for that EJB. So maybe you have some business entities. In our case, for example, CRM, there were some interfaces that was packaged into a jar and then shipped it to us, isn't it? Those interface, we kind of browse it here, and then it added as a dependency and installed in the local repository. Properties, these are the typical properties for WebLogic servers. That it may not be same for JBoss. It will be different. So if you are using WebLogic, then these are the things you need from server side. You need to ask, hey, what is the provider URL? Where the server is running? So you have to use that. WebLogic, they use a protocol called T3. So you need to use that. So this is kind of the example format you have to follow. Initial context factory. Initial context factory is embedded. It is included in the WebLogic driver. So you just need to give the name of the class here, the factory class, but WebLogic driver should have it. Otherwise, it will not work. And WebLogic driver actually has it. That's why you need that driver anyway. Username and password. There are two things. That's for authentication in the server side. So you need to pass that too. And in the request, in the not in the configuration, in the request palette, what you have is you have to use that connector configuration, which we showed here. And then we have some general configuration where you have to tell the lookup bin, right? That's the business entity bin name, entity bin name, yes. And then you provide the name here, and then you can have the option for selecting or typing out the method name. If you already know the method name, you can type it out, or the connector is also smart. It can look at the bin and dynamically find out all the methods, and then it displays it here so that you can pick and select. And the arguments, so you have to provide the arguments. So it's kind of a hash map where you have to provide the key value pair, because you have method there that will have, say, 3 parameters. That parameters value needs to be passed. So you will follow a convention, argument 0, 1, 2, and the value will be ordered based on your method signature. This is EJB 3 for WebLogic configuration looks like.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. So
Yeah,
we have a question from David. So the question is, does JBoss support include Wildfly or just JBoss EAP?
No, Wildfly. We tested with Wildfly heavily. So it does. Yes, actually in demo, I think we'll be using Wildfly. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. So next, EJB2, how we connect to EJB2 for WebLogic. Similar. So configuration is same. This is for EJB2, but you see the properties are similar. You don't need to do anything additional. So basically, same configuration can be used. Second thing, but here is the difference only. Remember, EJB2 had home interface, and you need to provide the create method name. It's basically, in most of the cases, create the method signature, method name is itself create. So you'll be using create all the time, but we still kept that option to be able to define something else. Remote interface name, you have to provide the remote interface name and the method name and the JNDI name. That is also needed in EJB2. You have to give a JNDI name, like you can give a custom context name, and you need to define in the configuration in EJB server, and you have to pass that JNDI name also in your client application. So this is for EJB2. SSL authentication, there is an advanced step. If I go back, if you look at it here, advanced step, that's where the SSL configuration. So if you need to provide the SSL, your key store and trust store and the key store password and trust store password, this is the option you can use. So it will do SSL handshake with the server, and you can achieve the security. There are some common questions. Parameters can be objects. First of all, this connector is very new. It's published, as I said, second version is in February, first version is in December. It's not really anything doing magical. Yeah, it helps a lot, encapsulating all this complicated process or complicated thing inside the connector, but it has long way to go. There are many servers needs to be covered, many things needs to be tested, many features needs to be checked, and there are lot of different variations in EJB. That's why it is difficult to come up with something very comprehensive. So, but this is a very good start, and I think this connector kind of cover kind of general implementation. So most of the cases, this is how people implement standard way, but there could be differences. So there are some limitations in this connector as well, and everybody should also know that limitations. So I will cover few. Maybe some of them will not be covered here for the sake of time limitations. Anyway, so parameters can be object. Yes, parameter can be object. Although it is tested in limited capacity, not extensively, but because there are serialization, like marshalling and unmarshalling issue there, right? When you're passing as a parameter, you're passing an object. Those objects should be serialized. So you have to make sure you are using serializable objects, right? So those are things that you need to consider. It is not extensively tested, but again, it supports today. Password is plain, not mask. This is something we need to fix in future release. I think this is easy to fix. We will, it can be easily fixed, but it is not right now. Just to set up the ground. Support. What if it goes wrong and does not work? I think there is no support right now because it's a kind of EJB is for everybody, but support is not there because it's not MuleSoft connector. You have to talk to the partner who built that connector. So if you need any additional support, anything fixing, they can help you. But yeah, MuleSoft will not provide you support for sure. What are other authentication? What other authentication does it support? It only support right now basic authentication, part of the JAAS, which is Java Authentication Authorization Service. But in future, probably there are opportunity to improve and add more different types of authentication or authorizations easily. That's kind of future release. SSL, yes, it supports. There are few issues. For example, if we go here, if you browse this and import your jar, it doesn't give any check mark. It would be probably nice to have. Those are minor things. Those are nothing to do with the features. I mean, functionalities. It is kind of user experience type of thing. Those will be improved in the future. Test connection. This is probably everybody should need to know. Test connection. There is a test connection button here. There is no remote test actual remote test connection happening here. Although test connection button is there, you can click on this. What basically it does, it quickly check all the interfaces and everything, because it's dynamic, right? So you see the connection is happening dynamically by the stop, right? It is not handled by the client. So that's why test connection is not straightforward, but I think there could be a way, some interesting way to do that. That may require, like maybe future release can do that. But today, if you fill up all this information, then click the test button. What it will do, it will check all the dependencies and everything. If it is all the provider URL dependencies, everything looks good, then we'll say, okay, connection successfully. But it's a little bit of misleading because it's not really actually making remote connections, but it is just checking that it is ready for connection. Okay, so there are a few other things, right? Test connectivity. Okay, before using the test connectivity button, always make sure that you are saving the project. Otherwise, test connection will not work. Like, say, for example, if you just put this information and then click on the test button, that it will not work. If you click the OK button and save it and then come back and test, then it works. So again, this is minor issues, and it's probably it will be fixed in the future. Right. Server versions that are used for testing, Wildfly and WebLogic. How to debug? Connector is logging basic stuff. Error not be 100%, but it's not maybe 100% accurate and readable. But you can, it is kind of posting the whole stack trace. You can actually read out and see what is the exact problem. But sometimes, it could be a little bit misleading. And debugging, if you need advanced support, you can talk to Plankton Labs team. They can, because they build the connector, they will help you fixing the problem. What about Log4j vulnerabilities? That's one good question. So recently it came up when we published. That time it was a hot topic, right? So what we did is we upgraded the parent POM from the SDK in the connector SDK, and it is considered that it is fine. But still there is some communication happening with the MuleSoft team, certification team, just to make sure that there is anything left to do. So, but in connector side, it's kind of leveraging the SDK Log4j packages anyway. So it's if MuleSoft that latest version covers it, it should be fine. But it's still there's some discussion going on at the same time, just to make sure if there's anything not missed. So there are some example of errors. For example, if you see authentication, if your credentials are wrong, you might be seeing in the log server rejected authentication. If you put the wrong host, you'll see that exception, unknown host exception, this type of thing. This is just two examples, just to show that how you'll identify those types of error. Third quiz: how EJB finds the bin. The EJB connector finds the bin. As I said, that there is a way to find the bins, and there is a mechanism that the connector uses. What mechanism it uses? The first option, using JNDI lookup. Second option, making a REST API call. Third option is through the SSL handshake. Fourth option, extracting the jar manually. So please put your answer in the comment box, chat box, and I will just give you moments to capture your answers. Or I will let Mahesh and folks, they will capture the answer. So I have no clue about the time. I don't know if I'm way over 7:12. How much I have time, Kishore or Mahesh?
Typically, we run these meetups for an hour. I think it's okay if you can quickly wrap up, because or else we'll see people dropping off.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'm almost done. It's now the demo part that probably people like, especially developers like me. They like to see demo. I think it's in action.
So yeah, we can go to the answer slide. Wahid?
Okay, sure. So this is the answer. JNDI lookup. EJB connector uses JNDI lookup to find the bins.
Yeah. So we have
Alim,
Sophia, and Simrat, and
Mm.
Manohar, who have
Yeah.
answered it correctly.
So
Yeah.
as you mentioned, we are dropping off the names whoever has answered in the question 1 and 2.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Why you can proceed.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now it's the in action, quick demo. I mean, the real exciting part. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Sorry, not stop sharing my. I'll stop sharing the presentation, and I will switch to Anypoint Studio. So just give me a second, please. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I will just, I will not create a brand new project. What I'll do, I have a project called Hello EJB here. That Hello EJB, I have, what I will do, I downloaded the EJB connector already. I believe you guys know already. If in case you do not know, you can click on here. You can type EJB. Right? And then you can use, you have to log in, by the way, you have to have that login in case you don't see it. Just click on add account and then provide your credential, then you'll be logged in successfully. It is your MuleSoft Anypoint platform credential. Once you do that, and if you have SSO, then you will have that option too in that screen. But once you do it, then you will search EJB, you will see that EJB connector -mule for publisher, and then you click on add button, then you see different versions. We have two versions, 100 and 110. So I already downloaded the 110 version, so I'll just cancel it. Once you have it, then we have EJB2 and EJB3. So I will just create a simple hello world application, and that will do the same thing. I mean, sorry, that will invoke a server, a service running in AWS. So I have it here. Sorry. Can you see my screen? I am showing Google Chrome browser.
Yeah, AWS console.
Okay, perfect. So my service is running. Let me refresh the window. AWS console. So Wildfly is the one. I started, as I said before, it's running. So before the demo, I started the server. And so I'll just put it to the next screen. So what I'll do, I'll try to, it is using EJB3. So I will create a flow with EJB3. And probably I'll take a scheduler just to keep it simple. Right, you guys probably is aware as scheduler is mainly it can run a cron job, so it can run frequently. So I will just put the frequency, say every maybe 5 seconds or something. Right, so 5 seconds. So I have the EJB request, and I will just so I will create. Okay, I think I already created before I was playing with a little bit. So I have all this information already filled up. Right. So if you take a look, I have the host, which is in AWS. Right. Again, if I just go back, quickly want to show you. Oh, not this one. Sorry. Oops. Right. So this one, I have that the host name here. So I took that. So this is the host exactly. The port is 8080. Initial context factory. So that's pretty much common. You'll be always using it. And package prefix, there's a package prefix as well that we need to use. And security principal test user, security credential test 1 2 3. I just put it at protocol JAAS. I have that pre-configured, so you will need to ask this question to the server side, right? So once you may not need it, but you may need to check the server side because they may have some package prefixes, more prefix that they have used in their bins. So you need to add this, and it will be semicolon separated. So that will be used, and it will be resolving all the package prefixes. So if I click on the test connection, then it should try to communicate with the JBoss, and it's a test connection successful, which basically, again, I said it's not real test. It just does check the dependencies. So once all these dependencies resolve, I'm gonna just use it, and which is here. Then I'm gonna put the bin name, lookup bin name, which is, I have it in a separate file. I will just copy it. I don't want to type it. And this is the, and yeah, so you see now I provided the bin name, and now it is giving me all the method in the interface, right? So I'm gonna use get customer, and then I'm gonna put the third option, which is argument. So you see that there are three arguments: argument 0, 1, and 2. First one is string, and the third one is integer. So I'm gonna put that. I have also copied it somewhere. I do not want to type it in the demo. So I'll just enable this. This is a hash map. I mean, it's an object with key value pair and string, and number. Age is 123. I don't know how long, how many people we have lives in that many ages, but 123. Let's put 80, right? And then, okay, so now the error is gone. Then maybe what I can do, can put a data weave, and then convert it to, say, XML. And then let's put say customers payload. Okay, so it's just a name I'm giving because I need a root object, basically that EJB service, the method that respond an object, customer object with kind of the same parameter that we have been setting with the same value. So the value will be the same. I think first one will be username, then the address, and the third is age. Anyway, so we'll see. So the payload will be coming from the server, and then we're gonna put a logger just to see what's coming. Right, so now let's put a payload. Right, I'm gonna keep it very simple now. And actually I disabled it. I was playing in the middle of it, so I disabled all the two dependencies. I'll just enable it back. You do not, this dependency is added actually. Let me show. The dependency is added as soon as I provided these two jars. So I went here, JBoss, EJB service package. I said, I clicked on configure and then use local file. And then I browsed my jar file and then provided the group ID, artifact ID, and version, and clicked the OK button. It just added the dependency in my pom.xml. So I already have it. That's why I'm not gonna add it again. So these are the dependency. First one is wildfly. This is the client driver, server driver, and this is the service interface mainly. Right. So these are the two things dependency we needed. We have it. So now I'm gonna just run the application quickly and then see what it is doing. What does it do for us? So let me put it to full screen. Okay. So it's deployed. So now should be, so okay, boom, here. So it looks like we got respond, and it's actually making the service call, right? So, and you see it's connecting. Initial context has been created, and then it disconnects and it logs. So, and in the log we see our customer has address, name, and age. Whatever we are sending, it's coming back from server. So we have that very simple demo application in the AWS that is sending back the response. I think that's pretty much it. didn't want to show anything else. So, but basically, you can also play with, version EJB2, and EJB2 has similar, right? EJB, but you have more information so that you need to fill, that you need to ask from the service team, server side. And also you can use the JBoss similar configuration, but you can also have your different own configuration. And if you switch to WebLogic, you see the interface will be different. Yep, like this. All right, that's pretty much it from my side. And I'm gonna probably switch to the slide and question and answer session, maybe.
Yeah. So we have one question from Sujata. So it says that in configuration there is no way to identify bean type.
Oh no, not really. Not right now. Especially this also, if you think that way, server side doesn't want to tell you what type of bean they have. It's like sharing their asset type to third party, right? To the client side. So usually they don't want to do that. They want to hide it, right? So I don't know if you would be doing that. There'll be some special communication you need to have with your server team, and you need to understand what type you are talking to. And this is mainly for session bean, not for other type. For example, for JMS, this connector will not be used because those are asynchronous mechanism, and you need JMS connector mainly for having that communication. And MuleSoft already has the JMS connector. Does it answer the question, Sujata?
Yeah, I think she seems to be good. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
So meanwhile, we can do is we can run the wheel of names for the quiz, and if there are any questions in the meantime, yeah, we can redirect
Sure.
it to you.
Yeah. So as I said, I'll be happy to answer any question even offline. If you feel free to reach out to me personally. I am affiliated with Plankton Labs. You can reach out to Plankton Labs for any types of connector related discussion, like features, functionality, if you know more. But anything related to development, MuleSoft, I'll be happy to help in any regards. So, and thank you for your passion. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. So this is the email address opened by Plankton Labs, MuleSoft connector at planktonlabs.com. If you have any specific question about this connector, you can send email to this address. There is a dedicated team or people, they will be looking after that.
Thank you, White. That was a wonderful presentation. So,
oh, no. Thank you.
yeah.
Should
so
I?
I'll share my screen. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a slide also here. Do you want to share your screen, or I will?
No, I'll share my screen because
Okay,
we
so
want
I'll
to run
start.
the wheel of names.
Okay, sounds good.
Maish will take it over from here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks.
So for the first question, we had 3 winners.
So Sujata, Ashnafi, and Shariful.
Very full, yeah. So let's see who's the lucky one to get the voucher. Yep, that's Shariful. Congratulations, Shariful.
Congratulations, Rachel.
Then for the next one, we had
That's Nahid, Ashutosh, and you.
you.
It's your congratulations here.
Yeah. The third one we had.
Winners, can you please share your email address in the chat? Yeah, I think I've got for Shuffle and you.
Yeah. Congratulations, Manohar. Yeah, so a request to the winners that please share your email address on the chat so that we can send you the request for vouchers. Yeah. Yep.
Manohar, can you please share your email address in the chat?
Yeah. So once you submit the forms, MuleSoft team would reach out to you and you'll receive the vouchers within 10 days. If not, then you can reach out to any one of us, uh, and we'll be happy to help you if you don't receive the vouchers. Yeah, and yeah, feel free to give us feedback on meetup at mulesoft.com. That'll help us to improve our meetups. And yeah, you can invite your friends to join our meetup group. That is the Toronto meetup group. Uh, and yes, thank you so much for joining in today, and hope uh, we'll have more exciting uh, uh, presentations coming on our way. Yeah, thank you guys.
Hello. Oh,
Yeah,
the third person didn't share their
sorry.
email. The third person, the third winner,
Sorry?
the winner,
Uh-huh.
they didn't share their email, so I mean, just check.
Manohar has shared the email in the chat.
So if they're not,
Yeah, I see it in the chat.
So Manu, yeah, Manu. Uh,
Yeah, Manohar has already shared. So these are emails that we have captured.
okay, yeah, we. So do we have all the names, Kishore?
Yeah, we have captured all the names and emails.
Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for joining, and thank you, White. That was really wonderful. Uh, and we hope to
Thank you.
have more presentations from you in future.
Absolutely. I would like to participate more. And thank you guys for
Thank you.
organizing such a wonderful event. I know you guys
Yeah.
have been doing a great job in the past few events I have been following too. So it's a great thing to do for the community, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Wyatt. It
Thanks.
was a great
Thank you.
presentation.
All right then.
All
Yep.
right.
This
All
is
right.
it.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay. So Kishore, can you send the email to the winners and I think for Wahid
Sure.
also do we need to send or does I
Sorry?
think for Wahid also we need to send the email, right?
That's right. Yeah. Anyways, we have Wahid's email, so I'll
Yeah.
include his email and then I'll send it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what else? What's going on?
Nothing much one you have to tell.
Same here. Nothing great. But I think that we have. I was talking to one of my friend, and she also wants to present, but I don't know when it would be. She hasn't come up with any dates. Right now, we don't have anyone in pipeline. So yeah, hopefully we might have someone, but I'm not sure yet. So,
Yeah, it's okay. We can keep looking for more people.
oh,